Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first of what we hope will be several Hamilton Commonwealth Games 2026 bid huddles. That's what we're calling them. And it's a chance to hear more about why the Commonwealth Games should be held in Hamilton and why that's a smart idea. Now, joining me today is PJ Mercanti, president of the bid committee, as well as Mario Bozzo, who is an individual who has a business which looks at basically the entrepreneurial approach of business growth. But one of his specialties is looking at how multi-sports events can actually rejuvenate a city. Now, Mario is in London, England right now, but he is a Hamilton native, so we're going to get back to him just a little later to find out more about this rejuvenation. But first of all, we're going to start with PJ Mercanti. Now, PJ, you have had an incredibly busy time, I know, for the last couple of years, and then we have a pandemic that gets in the way of, basically what looked like everything was online. And since that time, I know that you met with City Council halfway through the summer, and they had a lot of questions for you. And I think the big committee has taken those all into consideration and actually has moved forward in some areas about the questions that they were proposing. I know that for some of them, they really wanted to see a plan and they really wanted to see numbers.
Well, we want to make this Commonwealth Games bid a real consultative engagement exercise with council, with the city of Hamilton. And so in the coming weeks, we will be sharing our budget, our venue plan. We're in the final laps of finalizing those details. And we really want to engage the city, other stakeholders in the community, the Commonwealth Games Federation, Commonwealth Sport Canada, to make this a genuinely innovative bid that is Hamilton's response to the pandemic. And so we have a unique opportunity to tailor these games to respond to the effects of the pandemic in the region and using it to really stimulate economic development and social impact in the region.
Now, you talk about it being unique, and was it just the pandemic that forced that, or was that always the idea that the big committee had in mind when they were planning for the Commonwealth Games?
Well, we wanted to make this bid very innovative in the sense that we want the social impact to be the ultimate legacy. And one way that we are planning on doing that is to really use the games as a means of delivering affordable housing for the region. And we see that through the creation of an athletes village, that we will be able to put a serious dent into the affordable housing backlog in Hamilton. So that on its own could be a significant legacy for the community. But we want to really make the ROI on the community, for the community, better than what a 2030 Games could have done. And so we're excited to share in the coming weeks some real information on the financial plan. And PricewaterhouseCoopers will be sharing an economic impact study that shows that the overall impact of the Games in Hamilton will be around $1.3 billion. So that means thousands of new jobs. That means hundreds of millions of dollars of direct venue investments and other investments. And so we're excited to share those details with the community and show that it can be a real driver of change and a real catalyst for growth for the community.
Let's talk about social housing for a moment, because that was one of the areas that the councillors seem to want more information on. And I believe you brought Indwell on board as well.
Absolutely. We heard council loud and clear in one of our previous presentations earlier this year, and they cited that affordable housing is something that we should really focus on. And so our leadership team, including Lou Fraporti, the chairperson of our bid, developed a strong relationship with Indwell, who are very well known in the community, very innovative in the affordable housing space. And so we're delighted to have them as partners to champion the affordable housing component of our games bid. And they've been working really hard at bringing other players to the table. They're very knowledgeable about the process and working with federal governments and provincial governments around the issue of housing. And so they're the perfect partner to align with to really make the affordable housing piece a real big part of this games bid.
Mm-hmm. Now, public consultation was something that I know the big committee was looking at and was something that was reinforced by the city. Where are we with public consultation?
At the end of the month, we are planning on hosting more than one public engagement exercise and session with various folks in the community. So we want to target neighborhoods, educational institutions, other districts in the community, and bring all the voices to the table. And we want to make this a really engaged and positively constructive exercise where we have diverse opinions brought to the table, and through the engagement that we've done thus far with various stakeholders in the community, it's really helped to shape the bid up to this point. And through this engagement, we recognize that social impact is the ultimate legacy, and we want to really make it that way. But we are looking forward in the coming weeks to having more robust engagement with various stakeholders in the community.
Now, we also, have to look at other situations, because it's not just the city of Hamilton that is asking about the figures, et cetera, and how we move forward. It's also the federal government and the provincial government as well. How have those talks been going?
Well, the early indications are that both the federal and provincial government are supportive in principle, and they're looking forward to seeing the budget numbers. And one of the things that piqued their interest with regards to the 2026 pivot is that we're able to make these games a more cost-effective games by reducing the sport program and tailoring the games to the needs of Hamilton. We're able to make the budget far lower than what a 2030 games would have been. So the government is very intrigued at the prospect of a more affordable games. They're intrigued at the return on investment that government dollars would leverage, and they're excited to hear that our bid is more than just about sport. It's about economic development. It's about social impact. And so because we're using the social impact strategy piece as being the main lever of our bid, the federal and provincial government are very supportive, and they're pleased that we're also regionalizing the games in some respect by partnering with neighboring communities, including Burlington, Milton, the Niagara region, and that we're also bringing Indigenous reconciliation to the forefront of this games bid by potentially hosting lacrosse as a Commonwealth sport and hosting lacrosse at the Six Nations Reserve. And so for those various reasons, the government, various levels of government are supportive in principle of our bid efforts thus far.
Now, that would be the first time lacrosse has ever been included in a Commonwealth Games. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And we're excited that the Iroquois will be their own sovereign nation as part of this lacrosse exercise, in addition to Canada having their own team. And so it would be very special for the Commonwealth of Nations to include the Iroquois nation as its own sovereign nation. And we feel that will go a long way in really making Indigenous reconciliation coming to life in this community in a meaningful way.
Great plans. I'm going to move over to Mario for a moment to find out, what his thoughts are on the multi-sports and how it can rejuvenate a city, because you've spoken to that about the legacy of what these games could mean for Hamilton. Mario, tell me about how the games and health and community rejuvenation are linked.
Sure, and thanks for having me, Sue. Really, health starts, Sue, way before we really get ill. It starts in our homes, it starts in our communities, it starts in our schools and our workplaces. And it's about, within that context, it's about living healthy lifestyles. And that could be through physical education, in terms of informing ourselves, an active lifestyle, and through sport. And that's where the link is. And everyone should have the opportunity to inform themselves and have choices about living healthy lifestyles.
Now, the rejuvenation, though, that you speak about, is it just the physical buildings that rejuvenate a city, new physical buildings, or is there something else that happens because of multi-sports?
The focus has traditionally been on physical, and that shouldn't be underestimated. However, in my experience, Sue, and this gets a little bit underutilized, it's the relationships that get built across government levels, across business and community groups. And it's those relationships and those conversations that happen over a multi-year period that changes communities.
Now let's talk about Hamilton specifically. What do you think, of Hamilton's, qualifications for this rejuvenation?
Well, I think we really have to look forward here and where Hamilton is in its position. It's in a unique situation where, if you will, there's an invitation to engage in a very collaborative design process with the levels of government, with the Commonwealth Games Federation. And it's really now within Hamilton's hands to define what they want for the Games, for their needs. And I can tell you, Sue, there's never really been a situation like this. So it is about reimagining what the Games could be, and particularly as we deal with this pandemic situation and looking at the future and giving our future generations some hope and inspiration of what communities and cities could be.
I think his big committee has been reimagining these games for an awful long time now. And PJ, just back to you to wrap up. Tell us the very next steps that we will see from the big committee.
The next steps include sharing details of our budget and venue plan to the public at the end of the month. So we're looking forward to that. There will be community engagement sessions scheduled at the end of the month. And we also look forward to releasing PricewaterhouseCoopers Economic Impact Study, which will be happening at the same time. And in early October, we will be back before council to share all of this information. So we're looking forward to unveiling to the public more details, engaging them with further questions and answers, and sharing more information at that time.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. I know you stayed up very late, Mario, in London for this, so thank you very much. I'd like to also thank all the people that have actually tuned in and be able to view what the big committee is looking for. And we encourage you to come back for more of the Hamilton Commonwealth Games 2026 bid huddles that we have planned for the future. You can also check out our website as well and on social media to see the huddles. And as I promised, more to come in the future. Thanks so much for watching.